Arlo and the Keep Out Club by Betsy Childs Howard, illustrated by Samara Hardy. Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Proverbs 13:20. It happened on the playground. Every Friday afternoon, Arlo's dad picked him up from school, and they stopped by the park on their way home. Arlo liked to swing high on the swings, go down the extra tall, twisty slide on his tummy, and dig for dinosaur bones in the sandbox. But lately, the playground hadn't been much fun. Arlo wanted to play with the big boys. But the big boys stuck together. They didn't swing on the swings or play in the sandbox. They hung out in their clubhouse, high above the playground, and planned secret missions. Sometimes Arlo followed the big boys when they went on a mission, but he had a hard time keeping up. He watched them running, hiding, and throwing pine cones at squirrels when the park warden wasn't around. Sometimes he crept under the clubhouse to listen to their plans, but they always whispered. Then one day, the big boys noticed him. "Hey kid," the tallest one said, "you're Arlo, aren't you? Want to join our club?" Arlo couldn't believe they knew his name. He really couldn't believe they were going to let him join the club. "Yes," he said as fast as he could. "Okay, but before you can join, you have to prove that you've got what it takes. You have to pass a test." "Just tell me what to do and I'll do it," Arlo said. "I'm brave." The tall boy put his hand on Arlo's shoulder and pointed to the sandbox. "You see that girl in the sandbox? She left her stuffed owl on the bench. Your mission is to cross the playground, get the owl, and bring it back to us without being seen." Arlo hesitated for a minute. He knew the little girl's name was Bonnie, and her owl was called Ollie. He didn't want Bonnie to miss Ollie, but he was pretty sure he could take the owl back before Bonnie knew it was missing. He took a deep breath and said, "Okay, I'll do it." Before he could lose his nerve, Arlo set out across the playground. He crouched down and ran close to the fence the way he'd seen the big boys do. When he got near the sandbox, he crawled behind the bench and grabbed the owl. In a flash, he was back at the clubhouse. "I did it," he said. "Here's the owl. I don't think anyone saw me." "Well done, Arlo," said the tall boy. "Now you have to pass the test." "What?" said Arlo. "I thought that was the test. I got the owl." "Oh no," said a boy wearing a camouflage hat. "That wasn't the test. Now you have to put the owl in the trash can, and you can't tell anyone where it is." Arlo's heart beat faster. He knew that if he put Ollie in the trash can, Bonnie would never see him again. He knew that what the boys were asking him to do was wrong, but he also knew that if he didn't pass the test, he'd never get to play with the big boys again. Arlo looked over at the trash can and then back at the boys. "I can't do it," he said. I can, but I won't." The tall boy scowled. "Then you'll have to go back to playing with the babies," he growled. Arlo's shoulders slumped. He walked back across the playground slowly this time, carrying the owl under his arm. He put it back on the bench. Bonnie was still playing in the sand and hadn't noticed it was missing. Arlo walked over to a different bench where his dad was reading a book. "Let's go, Dad," he said sadly. "Arlo, what's wrong?" his dad asked with a worried look. Arlo told his dad about his chance to join the Big Boys Club and how he hadn't passed the test. "I'm glad you didn't throw Ollie in the trash can, Arlo. You did the right thing." "Then why don't I feel happy?" asked Arlo as he bent down. He pretended he needed to tie his shoe because he felt like he was about to cry. "Following Jesus is a great adventure," Arlo's dad said, "and adventures bring hard choices. Sometimes when we make the right hard choice and others don't, we feel lonely. But Jesus has promised us that he will always be with us, even when we feel left out. Wherever we go, he's the best friend we could have." While Arlo retied his shoe, he thought about what his dad had said. When he looked up, he saw a line of big boys creeping along the fence. Each boy had his arms full of pine cones. They were whispering and pointing at the sandbox. Arlo's eyes narrowed. "Come on, Jesus," he whispered. "Let's go." Arlo ran as fast as he could toward the sandbox. He reached it just as the boys were raising their pine cones in the air to throw them straight at Bonnie. Arlo hurled himself through the air and landed in front of her. The pine cones stung when they hit him, but none of them hit Bonnie. "Arlo!" Bonnie cried. "You rescued me!" The big boys turned around to run, but to their surprise, a park warden blocked their way. "Not so fast," she said. "I saw what you did just now. You should be ashamed of picking on a little kid. Good thing she had her friend to protect her." It wasn't just me, Arlo thought to himself. Jesus was with me. "It's time for you boys to leave," the park warden finished. The boys hung their heads in disappointment as the warden marched them out the gate. Somehow, it seemed to Arlo, they didn't look so big anymore. The end.